I am just one of the crew.
And we don't have to, I'll just let them know they were, so we don't want to hold up everybody else. If you want, we can just get started.
All right, looks like Samantha's got it. Why don't you chat, send anything you want into the chat with Samantha's other numbers that you want her to call, Kathy. And she can do that. And we can get started if we'd like
Okay.
to. Whenever you're ready, let me know.
Okay. I was going to send her this one number. Let me see if I can get it here.
Hello, hello. It's great to see some of you. Great to see all of you, actually. I mean, I'm saying I'm surprised to see some of you, but it's great to see all of you.
Well,
I'm thinking of you all.
Less of us. I think we have to scroll to find everybody.
Yes, it's true. It's so great. Oh, well, look, we've got some other village directors coming here to back us up.
Ah,
this is just great.
Great.
Yes. Andrea, and I thought I saw Denise. Yeah, there's Denise. Hi, Denise. Oh, looks like we have someone else from. I'm always glad to see when folks from outside Capitol Hill Village find their way here. And Pamela, yay, Pamela's here.
Oops.
The host just muted me. Who was that? Am I talking too much? Sorry, Samantha.
So whenever you're ready, Julie, we can get started.
Okay. All right. Well, for those of you who don't know, I'm Judy Berman. I'm the Executive Director of Capitol Hill Village, and I am very pleased to be hosting the esteemed Kathy Pointer, the Director of Kingdom Care Village. I've had the privilege in the past year of working with Kathy along with the other directors of the DC villages, including Denise Snyder, if she wants to wave, and Andrea Sokocha. We are taking advantage of the Zoom opportunities to spend time together without having to take time out of our busy calendars to travel. And I think it's been very fruitful. But we're very pleased to have Kathy here tonight as one of the kickoff to our district dialogues. Capitol Hill Village has made a commitment. From Mount Pleasant Village, wonderful. Glad to see you, Judith. And Leo, I'm not sure, you from Mount Pleasant as well?
Yes.
Yes, terrific. Capitol Hill Village has made an explicit commitment to addressing racism in our community and to educating ourselves and becoming an anti-racist organization. And part of that is really about educating ourselves, dialoguing with our neighbors, and really understanding the challenges and opportunities that are ahead of us. So we are eager to understand, and particularly as a group that is devoted to enabling, facilitating older adults to age in place with their health and dignity and autonomy, and achieving the longevity on their own terms, that we are particularly interested in dialoguing across villages and understanding, our peers around the city, including folks in Ward 8 who live so close and yet in many ways so far. So Kathy is a dynamic leader, and we are pleased to work with her and are pleased to have her as part of our program tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Kathy. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you, Judy, and thank you to all of you for joining in tonight. It's just a pleasure and a privilege to be a part of this discussion, kicking off this series to really just talk about who we are, kind of what we do. And I always say we're more alike than different. And I just think that, as Judy said, when it comes to services and our seniors and aging, so many things are more alike. And as Judy just said too, although we're close, we're kind of far apart, but still close in terms of what the needs are. So I'm going to share my screen. I do have, I'm not sure how many made it on, but can you see my screen here?
Yes.
Okay. So we are the Kingdom Care Senior Village. With me tonight, not sure again, I think I saw a couple of them, wasn't sure who all made it in, but my name is Kathy Pointer. I'm the director of the village. And we had a couple members, Deborah Brewer, Ms. Doris Williams, and I know I saw two of the volunteers, Sabrina Hops and Dominic Williams, and a third one was trying to get in as well, Marquita Hampshire. So just wanted to do those introductions, and hopefully we'll have time to hear a little bit from them. Just like with all the villages, our message to our members is that we care. Importantly, again, I was saying a few minutes ago that it's really about welfare and quality of life. And that we just want them to know that we are not alone. My thingy is not moving. Let's see what's going on. Something's happening. Can I go back? Let me see.
We see you and hear you.
Okay. For some reason, it's not moving the way that it
No,
should.
it moved.
It did move?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe I need to go. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about just our start as a village. We were not aware of the village concept, the village model as it relates to community support. And there was not a village in either Ward 7 or Ward 8 east of the Anacostia River. There had not been one over here. So we actually, the DC government, I guess, recognized that at some point, and there was an RFP out to start a village specifically in Ward 8. It was then the DC Office on Aging, and we decided at that time that we would apply for it because we did see some alignment, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes with some of the things we were already doing. But at that time, we did not understand the magnitude of the requirement, and that was to service seniors in Ward 8. We didn't understand how massive that charge was and that task was. We opened in March of 2017. It probably took us about 6 months or so to kind of get everything together and really open as a village. If you look at the demographics of Ward 8, this is according to DC Health Matters 2021. The population of Ward 8 is 80,000 people, approximately. And now 92% of that, that number is Black African American. Seniors 60 to 85 years old account for about 15,000 people. 9,000 females, 6,000 males, and we know we have the majority of our village is female, so certainly those numbers matter. And I said a few minutes ago that we didn't understand, you know, the magnitude that the request was to open a village in Ward 8. So we were soon faced with our first and ongoing major challenge. In that most villages serve one or more smaller confined communities. And this was supposed to support an entire ward of 15,000 seniors, which is absolutely just terribly impossible to do. I wanted to go back a couple slides. Churches in the African American Black community for decades have really served as a support to seniors, offering various programs. That's where a lot of the support comes from: community support, community engagement, resources come through the churches. So as a church, when we saw the RFP, I've been in government contracting personally for almost 30 years, so pretty comfortable with writing grants and proposals and things of that nature. So I saw it as an opportunity to really take that village model, and we can provide seniors with more than a church can absolutely do, because churches don't have the capacity to do what a village can do. And then again, there was alignment. There were a lot of the same services. We were doing a lot of the same things. So for me, it was an opportunity to serve more and do more. We certainly wasn't looking at the requirement of servicing 15,000 people. That is unreal. So again, we were faced with that first reality of that being a major challenge. And in addition to the numbers, also the poverty rate for Ward 8 is about 34%. That's almost double DC's rate of 16%, and that's pre-COVID. So I'm sure those numbers have increased to some degree. I don't know what. And why is that important? That was important as it related to membership fees, because with a lot of villages that we were reading about, that I had found out about, membership fees help sustain the villages. Also, members who can give donations and really provide more support, whereas we didn't have it at that level. So that was extremely important as we thought about it. We also had to really look at offering specific and special programs, because food insecurities are a major issue in our neighborhoods. So we have partnerships with Giant Foods. We actually had one with Trader Joe's. We still partner with the Capital Area Food Bank. And the whole idea, what we try to do is help seniors stretch their resources beyond what they're able to do on a monthly basis with the income and things that they're getting. So we had to kind of address that. And we also added a summer distribution food program, specifically during the summertime, to try to encourage healthier eating through fruits and vegetables, things like that. So for us, looking at the poverty rate was important because it means that we needed to offer some other types of support for our members. Some of the challenges that we face, that was a question we were asked. Number one, as I said before, because Ward 8 is an entire ward, there are 12 communities in Ward 8. Denise is on tonight. Hi, Denise. Hi, Andrea. Recently, I submitted something to Denise. We really want to penetrate a couple more communities, but it just takes resources to be able to do that. We have requests outside of Ward 8. We had some Ward 7 residents who found out about it. And what we do now, and we started doing, we don't advertise outside of Ward 8 because we don't want to infringe on others in terms of what they're doing in supporting communities. But anyone who asks, we will accept them who ask us to. A lot of our recruitment, if you will, is word of mouth. Another challenge, because again, the ward is so wide, we could not support transportation needs. There was just no way we could support transportation in that area, in that radius of what we would have to in order to be able to support the members of the village. We did not have a volunteer base to provide the support on the level that was needed to support that number of people. We just didn't have the resources, money, people, infrastructure. We didn't have that to be able to support an entire ward. And as I said earlier, so that was something we didn't recognize coming into the whole idea of starting a village, that we were required to support all of Ward 8. We just weren't able to do it once we realized and recognized what was required. So what was our strategy? Excuse the typo there, it says strategy B. What was our strategy? We just determined to do what we could do with the resources that we had. We just began to kind of really look realistically at what we were able to do. We did not advertise widely. We don't advertise widely at all because we are just concerned with whether or not we would be able to provide the support needed on the level that it's needed. I know, again, some other EDs are on, and some of the requests are really, really individualized, and they can stretch you outside of your means if you don't have the support to be able to do that. And we don't want to advertise offering something that we're not able to deliver on. Our strategy also was that we would manage the activities to not extend ourselves beyond what we felt comfortable that we could do. So that's been a real challenge even now from the seat I sit in. Sometimes we really want to do more, but we have to be very careful about what we can do and what we can sustain. Even if we're able to do it today, the question is whether or not we'll be able to do it tomorrow, and whether or not we'll be able to do it for 10 people versus one person. So really, again, try there to not overextend ourselves in terms of what we are able to provide. And it weighs on me. Our other strategy is that I know the village directors too will appreciate this, that we adopted the saying, when you seen one village, you seen one village. And that is that we had to, I know I had to just, try to resist the temptation to model after other villages. You have to kind of look at who you are and the community you serve and what those needs are, and really try to align your services with what that is needed. We don't try to do what others are doing, and we really try to focus on the needs of the members we have, and again, try to do what we can do to support those needs. As I mentioned earlier, many of our needs are around food, whether it be delivered meals, and that was a big blow that we weren't able to do that at some point, but groceries and just some ongoing things, personal items, just a lot of things we've been doing even pre-COVID. We were doing it because our members didn't have the resources in many cases to provide those types of things. So we were providing those types of things for them. So that's just been kind of a part of our makeup and who we are. Many of the villages have a great number of also members who are volunteers. Although we have a few of those, our makeup is more people who need services than people who can provide services. So that's another difference that I've seen as I've talked to and collaborate with other villages, that we don't have a number of our members who are also able physically or financially or whatever resources that are necessary to provide the volunteer services along with being members. I mentioned earlier our member fee structure is very nominal because the goal was to make sure that we can provide member support. I am pleased to state this evening, and I sent something to Judy, even someone from Capitol Hill Village saw an article in the RAG, and they sent a donation to help cover membership fees because they see how valuable the village membership is. And I thought that that was really, really communal that they would do that. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. Are there any questions or comments, anything you want to ask before we go on? There were a few questions we were asked to address specifically. As I said, too, we have a couple of volunteers online. I will have to look to see if any of the members made it online that I would like you to hear from, but I want to address any specific questions outside of the list of questions that I have that may have come up during the brief presentation. Any questions or comments or thoughts from anyone?
I'm curious, Kathy, what you said that you've been able to attract members through word of mouth. Are there other methods that you might do, or are you thinking that you'd rather hold off, serve the people you have already well, rather than bringing in new folks?
Well, we're not opposed, and we do. As a matter of fact, as of late, I think in the last month, we probably have 4 new members, and that's a great rate for us. So it's not that we're opposed to it, just trying to, I guess, make sure we have the resources necessary that we can support more people. So anyone who reaches out and say, hey, I would like to be a part of your village, we absolutely accept them. But we're not advertising in any of the in any journals or newspapers or doing anything like that to really attract that. But anybody who does reach out to us, we are supporting.
Well, it's great to see the response that you're getting even without advertising. Good for you. Good. That's wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, some of the questions that we were asked to address tonight, number one is, what are the most numerous service requests from our members? I would probably say more again along the line of food or household items that are needed. Transportation, I was a part of a transportation group. And one of the differences in terms of transportation is because of the way of the ward is made up, we don't have, it's so decentralized that transportation takes on a whole different meaning in our ward. And there is just, again, for us, we don't get a lot of requests for transportation, and we don't have the volunteers really to support that. But we do get a lot of requests for shopping and groceries and food. Now, when we were face-to-face, we had a lot of requests to get to events, when we were having our face-to-face, our meetings and gatherings. So we did have a great need for that type of transportation. We would use, again, we relied a lot on Uber, giving members Uber gift cards, providing Uber support for transportation. And even now, we still have to do that in order to get members from place to place where they need to go, because again, we don't have the volunteer base to support all of the requests that may come in. Where's the greatest need? Volunteers is a great need. Right now for us, it's just, as all villages are, you're looking for funding to help support your team and your staff, because the only way to provide more services is to be able to expand your capacity. And expanding capacity, whether it's people or resources, just, trying to do that. So we face the same challenge that every other village is facing. East of the river, I would say that if we don't know about resources, we won't know about resources. I'm really appreciative of the collaboration with the village directors, because it's often through the email exchanges and, being at the meetings that I kind of learn about other things that are out there that are available, because otherwise we wouldn't, if we get it, it certainly wouldn't be anytime soon. It'll be later, kind of snail mail along, that we'll find out about it. How are we involved in our communities? We started out of the church, but we don't consider it to be a church-based village in terms of that's all we do. It was only because, again, of my involvement with grants and supports, government connections, and I was a part of the church, so I know what the church does as it relates to seniors and support, and I just brought those two together. But our goal is to support seniors regardless, and we do that. Now, the church has been a great resource, because it started, for space for us, equipment, and all the things that we needed that we could not afford, as a standalone village. So that has been wonderful, but that is not the purpose of it. And we don't make that any kind of requirement, any kind of barrier, anything of that nature. And I said that to say, we've been involved in the community that we're in for 30 years. We're very well known in our community as a support for the community, whether it be opening our doors to provide dinner for those who don't have it during the spring and summer months, to clothing, to food, to whatever. We got involved early on with distributing PPE. And right now we open every Tuesday for our food pantry. If you come by any day on a Tuesday, we don't open till 9. The line starts to form at about 7:30. And in an hour's time, we've serviced 60 people or so. So our community knows us very well, which is another reason we feel comfortable providing community services and feel comfortable with the village, because we are very well known in our area. Another question was asked, how has COVID affected our communities? Whether or not there's been a great loss of friends, more unemployment, psychological impact of isolation. And I would tell you certainly that psychological impact of isolation and that unemployment rate has certainly increased. I have not, and I'm happy to say that we have not had a member of the village that we know of have been affected by COVID. And we're very pleased to be able to say that this evening. Have not had one to share that a family member has passed because of COVID. We're very pleased to be able to say that. Because we do know that there's so many who have. But we do have the issue of unemployment and psychological impact of isolation. Just 2 weeks ago, we had a senior. She came doing the food bank and asked if she could talk to me, and just started crying, she said, I feel so isolated. I can't talk to anybody. I'm by myself. I don't know what to do. I don't have a job anymore. I can't do anything. So I connected her with our outreach coordinator, and we signed her up to be a member of the village to help fill that gap of feeling isolated and alone and by herself. We do have to, I think on some cases, one thing we have to do sometimes is really identify that need ourselves versus a senior identifying it. because I think that sometimes maybe not knowing the resources exist or not knowing exactly what you can do to support them, I think is often a challenge. And sometimes a sense of, I think all seniors, you want that pride, as Julie said earlier, and that level of sense of dignity. So we definitely try to make it feel, I'm sure that Capitol Hill does, and Northwest, all the others, to make it feel like it's a community and we're all helping each other. So it's not a service for those that are quote unquote in need. It's more of a community, and we support and help each other meet whatever need that is. So so that I think those two, unemployment and psychological impact of isolation, has certainly impacted our community and our village. Another question was, have people whom they know and were affected by COVID? I just mentioned that. Early on, the question was asked about medical attention and access to testing. I think everybody knows that we had a major challenge with access to testing. And it took a lot of advocacy from our ANC to our council member, to other community leaders, so many to try to get that resolved. I think that at some point, well, I know at some point it was certainly better because people were able to go to some drive-by places and some other places that were set up. But early on, again, as I said earlier, the resources just get to Ward 8 and Ward 7 much later than they're made available to other wards. So we're still, addressing that where we can. Don't try not to use it as an excuse. We just really try to figure out how to get around it, how to address it, how to make up for it, whatever we have to do to make sure we get what we need for the community. Another question was, how has COVID impacted our work in the communities? And have we seen any resistance to wearing masks or maintaining social distancing? The resistance, we didn't see resistance. What we saw was access. Back in probably maybe June of last year, we did a Saturday campaign where because what we heard, if we would talk to people, they don't have access to get on the bus. At that time, you couldn't go on the bus and go buy anything. A lot of people don't have access to the internet. They don't have credit cards where they can buy masks online or sanitize online. They can't go to Amazon and get it delivered. So a lot of the resources that some of us may have, many of people in our community don't have. And so we were hearing that. It's not that, ma'am, it's not that I don't want to wear a mask. I don't have a mask. I don't have resources to get a mask, that kind of thing. So one Saturday, we partnered with an organization and we put together maybe 400 packs of PPE, masks and gloves and sanitizer. 15 minutes, we're out. 15 minutes of distribution, we don't have anymore. So that, I think, again, just kind of speaks to the massiveness of that issue back then, although it doesn't exist now, but early on, that was a problem. So it wasn't a matter of resistance to wearing the mask. And now we don't have any resistance. We give out food on Tuesdays, we keep masks and we have gloves and we have sanitizer and we just give it out. There are people who show up and say, I don't have one. And they know to come and ask for it. And they come and we keep a supply. We have a supply that we keep that we can make sure that that they get them. But I've never had a person say, I'm not wearing one or anything of that nature. So we haven't had the resistance. I think maintaining a social distancing is just kind of not our nature. So you have to kind of remind people to do it. But other than that, again, we haven't had any challenges with it. Have the people whom we serve been able to sign up for vaccinations? Yes, we too did, not on the same scale as some of the other villages, but I think it's relative. And that is that we did. We made sure that everybody who wanted one was able to get one. We got online with seniors. We took them where they needed to go. We made appointments for them or had a family member to call for them or whatever we need to do. So we have not had one who has said, I want to sign up and have it. Now this leads to the second question, have you seen resistance to getting the vaccination? The question is yes. The answer rather is yes. There's a lot of reluctancy. And I think it's getting better over time, especially as family members get vaccinated, people they know get vaccinated, hearing more about the science, seeing that people aren't falling out dead when they get it, those kind of things. And I don't mean to make fun of them, I'm just saying that's kind of where people were. And obviously, just as a people, there's just concern about that, whether or not there was honesty from the government, whether there was truthfulness in terms of the science and all of that. But I think, again, a lot of that is, being eliminated, and people are, getting vaccinated. Personally, I'm talking about me and my family. My mother is 78. She's had both hers, and certainly encouraging. Our pastor is encouraging everybody to get it, to be safe. So I think there are two more questions. How do we think medical services for populations that they serve could be improved? For some who may not know, there's one hospital east of the river, and it is in trouble, has been in trouble for years. The leadership over there changes like the weather changes. Nobody, even in the community, really trusts the hospital to give its best care or to have the best doctors. And that's a major problem. And it's really, really a topic that's real sensitive in the community. So we find ourselves, with members going, to Georgetown and George Washington and Howard and Washington Hospital Center, because there is not one. There's one in the making now. We're still a couple of years out from that. So that's a major challenge. We just partnered with a healthcare organization that does in-home visits, which has been great for some of our members, that they'll come to them and provide the services that they need. Again, I'll use my mom. She's a member of the village as an example. Once I found out about them, I quickly switched her because they're concerned about going out. They're still concerned about going out and being safe, and not having to even take transportation like Metro Access or other types of transportation. Is still, just not comfortable right now. So they'll come out and provide the services for them, which is great. And the last question is, there something that we'd like to inform you about that you haven't asked about? I just, again, appreciate this time to kind of share just a little bit about who we are. And I thank all of you for even joining tonight just to hear a little bit about who we are. As I started with, I'll say again, I think we're more alike than different in terms of what the needs are and services are, and just having a heart and to serve people and to help our seniors age and to age with dignity and grace, and to have support from people around them who care. And I know that the village directors care, our volunteers care, our members care about each other. And I think that in the end, that's what's really important. So that's kind of all I have, I think, prepared formally. Formally rather. We too believe that the village movement is a movement that matters. We really believe that. And we are hopeful to be able to, as we, the village directors, are doing, helping others see the importance and the value of a village in their neighborhoods. We're starting an awareness campaign. We're kind of not just in the African American community, but also talking to adding other houses of worship in other wards, because we think that it's a real help to our seniors. And I think that they'll also agree, the village directors that are on will also agree that the government now, the DC government now sees the value of villages, whereas before they may not have, but they now see villages as a resource to reach deeper into the communities, to reach people they cannot reach, to share resources and services that will take forever to get to village members. And I think collectively, the last time I looked, I don't know, Judy, what do we have? Maybe collectively about 10,000 members of the villages, somewhere around there. I don't know. But
I think it's closer to 3,500 or so. Yeah, of members, although, as you know, our reach goes, further than that, right? It's not just members that we're serving.
Right. So I think I know that DC government, the DC administration on community living, that they understand that now, that we can reach more people than they can. We can get the message out sooner than they can. We can touch people that will trust us and won't trust them. So I think that they value the relationship with villages now. So I'll stop there.
Kathy, thank you so much. There's a question, but before we get into questions, I would love to know if any of the guests from your volunteers or members, Marquita, Dominic, anybody, I can't see everybody, but if you have any comments that you want to add to Kathy's about your experience working with the village or your understanding of the village, please.
Dominic, or do you have any comments? I think Sabrina was on. I'm not sure.
I see Sabrina. Yep.
Okay, Dominic, anything? You're muted.
Good evening. Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. One thing that I found very interesting as I started to interact with the senior, first of all, I'm a private chef in my profession. So I was commissioned by the senior village to cook meals for the seniors. I think the least that I've ever done was 10 a week for 5 seniors. And I believe that we got up to about 26 meals a week for about 12, 14 seniors at one time. So there was a point where it had gotten really big. And I also delivered the meals. And, as I was kind of going door to door, dropping off the meals, I would notice, that you could smell the trash, or sometimes I would have to actually go in their home. Some people who aren't as mobile. And I've actually cleaned some of their homes. And, just noticing that there's so many things that go unaddressed, when it comes to seniors, because they don't often have the voice or the resources or the help. So the work that the senior village does is extremely important. Even just with me dropping their meals off to them, I found myself being part of, the front line of defense for them. If they didn't answer their phone, or somebody fell and they couldn't get up, I would be one of the first people to know. Some of the seniors live alone. So maybe a family member hadn't checked on them in a few days or something. And there were some times where people didn't answer the phone for when I did drop their meals off, and I let Miss Pointer know, or somebody else in the village. And, they contacted some of their family members to kind of do a welfare check to make sure that they were there. So it's just so many things that they need. I remember during COVID, we dropped off water, PPE to them, toilet paper, just so many things. Thank you, baby. So many, I apologize. So many things that they need that tend to go unaddressed for this sector of the population, because they don't often have the voice, the resources, the know-how. So that was just one of the things that I noticed.
Thank you, Dominic. We have a member. Did you see Doris? Was Doris on?
I did see. I thought I saw someone. I'm not looking. Let's see. My beauty gallery view.
Go back here.
Yep, she's on. Doris, Miss Williams is on.
Hey, Ma Doris, do you want to unmute and just kind of share your experience with the village? This is one of our members.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, could you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, my experience with the village, we will always have some kind of activity for the senior that we enjoy. We have exercise, and we have cooking class, and we have sewing class. Village, we were making a little quiz and thing for the seniors in the nursing home. So I enjoy what I was doing with the village. We had a lot of, we would go out sometimes shopping. So my experience with the village was very nice, and I enjoy what I did, my part that I took in helping out in the village.
Thank you, Miss Doris. We have another volunteer, Miss Sabrina, and then Miss Marquita. Want to share a little bit about your experience?
Good evening.
Hello.
I would just like to say, working with the village, volunteering, it's more so a privilege to me. Being a young lady, I get to experience a lot. I gain a lot of knowledge. There's one member, Miss Charlotte, she will call me and ask if I want to go with her to the Amish market. So I would help her out there on Metro Access, giving out the food to the members, and doing things that they can't do, like go up and down the steps, making copy papers, putting together the binder. I just love helping them out.
Thank you, Sabrina. We have one last volunteer on, I think, and that's Miss Marquita.
Hey, how you doing this evening? Thank you very much for really making sure I got in here this evening. I was having some technical difficulties, but thank you. No, I really like when Ms. Pointer calls on me to deliver, help deliver meals. I'll take as many as I can in the sector, whatever she needs. And I'm making sure those people get those meals, especially during the holidays. Meals are always given out for Christmas and Thanksgiving. I'm making sure no one goes no one's left out. And it's just a privilege just to be available to help and be able to just serve in that manner. I don't have my grandparents or anything, so just to be able to give to someone else in need is really important to me. So that's part of my service that I give as often as I can and whenever she needs. So I like to be continue to be a part of that service, not just for the church, but most definitely for the senior village.
Thank you so much. Anyone else have any questions for us? Thank you all. Miss Deborah Brewer, she's a member. Hey, Miss Deborah, I just saw you pop up.
Yes, I've been here. I appreciate everything the village has done and is doing for seniors with the deliveries, especially during this pandemic, and you don't want to get out, you're afraid to get out, or you can't get out, one of the two. I have just 2 children and they do everything they can do for me. And between working, and I can't wait to get back to what we were doing before with the traveling, the entertainment, but I'm happy with the Zoom, the online, the games, the exercise. It keeps you busy, keep you in contact with everyone. Besides calling, we have our special prayer partners. I have 2 of those. I try my best to keep in touch with them. They keep in touch with me. I check in, and then there's one member that I adopted. Well, I should say she more adopted me as my mother, Mom Gracie. And she just turned 88 Saturday. So I try my best to try to get her a meal delivered to her from me personally, or anything I could do. And if I could hook up with her to go to a doctor's appointment, which we're trying to do Thursday. So yes, I appreciate the village for everything.
Thank you,
I'm glad they're here, and I hope they'll stay on even longer.
Thank you, Miss Deborah. But again, thank you all so much for your time this evening.
Appreciate it. Candy, there was a couple of questions in the chat. I wonder, somebody asked how many members you have and the biggest obstacle to expanding membership.
Right now we have 54. The biggest obstacle is, again, capacity to support them. So that's it. Just the capacity to support. Hopefully through this, I mentioned a few minutes ago, a small additional grant will be able to kind of penetrate a little bit more and add 2 more people, at least for a few months, kind of on I would call it kind of on a pilot to see how that will pan out. And then the challenge would be getting more money to keep it going. But yeah.
Okay. Somebody else asked about internet access. You mentioned that a lot of folks don't have access, and wanted to know, I know you do have a website, but wanted to know more about how you communicate with your membership. What are the best strategies?
Lots of phone calls and text messaging. We do more through phone calls and probably text messaging. Many of them don't use email as much as they use text messaging. So we've been, I think Dominic was one of those that went over and, helped the senior, and we've been doing that, helping them one-on-one to make sure we can get access through the program we had recently. We were able to get some tablets. So it's been more phone calls and text messaging, and yeah, that's been pretty much how we communicate.
And phone calls are very time intensive, a lot more time intensive than.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me open up to other.
I see
folks.
one person raising their hand, Judy.
Yep, okay.
Dylan.
I was just thinking, I think a lot of the villages don't know about this village. We hear a lot about Capitol Hill and Northwest Neighbors. I was wondering if just an idea, if someone were to take this presentation and to turn it into a little article that Wave could make available to all the villages if they want to put it in their announcements to their members, explaining what this village is.
Mm-hmm. Nice idea. Great. I see some hands up too. Lorna Grenadier.
Thank you. It's just, I'm remembering what it was like to start out, Kathy.
Okay.
And, we worried, were we going to have enough members? Were we going to have enough volunteers? And, you're blessed with riches, and interest, and so many people to serve. How can, when I think about, and maybe the other villages, I know when we started, Wave was barely beginning, and we looked very much to other villages for advice. What did we have in common? How are we different? And exactly as you said at the beginning, every village, you've seen one village.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know in what way to think about this, but in terms of what your resources your community has, you have, I think you mentioned strong church organizations, but the city is changing. There's a lot of interest in developing. Do you have the ability to, what did we call them? It's like community partners.
Mm-hmm.
So in our little neighborhood, we were fortunate to have a little neighborhood association that was already a 501c3. And so that enabled us to do one thing. The other thing we discovered was that anytime a new building was going up, that there was an arrangement, and I can't remember all the details now, but if they were putting up a multi-million-dollar building,
Mm-hmm.
through our advisory neighborhood commission, we could put in a request for funding.
Mm-hmm.
So we could get $50,000 here.
Community benefits. Anything like that.
Community. So I don't know if those are things, but I'm sure all the villages, DC, we all have different resources within our own communities.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's any way we can help you, I love doing research. So if I can help in any way looking for stuff, I'm happy to do that.
I'm writing your name down.
Okay. And
I
had the pleasure of meeting you at a Wave meeting a while ago, and
Okay.
I was just so taken with your energy, your enthusiasm, and your compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that with your villagers, your members here, and your volunteers, and I'm going to cry.
Oh.
No, keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see Pamela has her hand up.
Hi, Ms. Pointer. It is a pleasure meeting you.
Likewise, the email exchanges was good to see your face.
Yeah. I had a question about mental health therapy. Do you provide that at your village, or do you have a connection to refer your members to?
We don't provide it. We refer to the lead agency for Ward 8.
Okay.
But I would say that the success rate hasn't been as great as we would like, but that's what we're required to do, even is to refer. to the lead agency.
Can you specify, when you say success rate, do you mean of people actually following through, or do you mean people getting relief from the experience, or what do you mean by success?
I think the relief from the experience of follow through once they get there.
Okay.
Once the handoff is made.
So the quality, it's not meeting their need very well.
Right.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
and they're the service board. They have a grant from DACL as well. The service board 7 and Ward 8. So, and even going back to Lorna's question, I think a part of, she mentioned partnerships. For whatever reason, there just hasn't been, I think and I was naive when I came in. So I'm thinking everybody's on the same page and with this one big family, we're gonna have this big party. And I would go around to these organizations, they were like very territorial.
Oh no.
And yes, and back up. We don't need that. You're the new kid on the block, that kind of thing. And I'm like, we're here to support the seniors, and together we can do that. So that was kind of a real downer, to find that to be the case. But Pamela, sound like you've had that experience too. So
yeah, because I am a Ward 8 resident, and I am a peer health educator with Capitol Hill Village, and just trying to look for just trying to recruit more people for the peer health educator program. I've reached out to some of these organizations. Oh yeah, well, we do the same thing. We pretty much what you said. They're sort of kind of standoffish and are like territorial, and we already have that in place. And I was reaching out to just say that we can maybe form some sort of collaborative.
Right.
Well, thank you, Pamela. I see another hand up. Judith Byron.
Yes, hello.
Judith.
Hi, I'm from Mount Pleasant Village. So I've been living here since 73, and it's a dramatically changing demographics. And so one of the things is that I'm talking about sort of the homogeneity of villages. And so more so, ours is becoming predominantly white and upper white middle class, but there's a strong Latin presence and a declining but strong Black American presence, which used to be the dominant presence. So one of the things is how one gets identified. And so the village gets identified as kind of the white middle class, upper middle class people. And we've been working very hard to really try to bridge into other communities, because it's what makes our community vital. And so I'm wondering if from your experiences, you have suggestions for kind of white dominated villages in terms of how to better bridge or present themselves as a way to develop trust and open their ears or whatever to, in our instance, the declining Black population and the enduring Latin American population.
Well, we've been tackling that in the executive directors meetings for the villages, and we kind of just came together, and it's working for us, and we've been addressing that issue there. And as you said, one of the challenges is that whole trust, or do you understand our needs, or do you really know what we need as a community? And so I've kind of taken on this new initiative through the villages to partner with churches in the communities. And what the goal is to kind of develop this list of churches and the contacts with the senior lead in their churches and push those out to the villages. Because I think that I actually was on a meeting recently, and there were 32 churches on the meeting, and I kind of shared what our new project is, and there's a lot of interest there.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
Yeah, so we'll be sharing about the villages in the different wards, because certainly this the need is there, and I think that there'll be some people who connect.
Kathy, if I can just comment, one of the things that strikes me Oh, am I? Yeah. One of the things that strikes me as I'm listening to you is, I mean, it frustrates and angers me that so much of your time and effort is spent on just having to feed people. I mean, that just seems so, there is so much that villages do for people. And it just sort of infuriates me that the time of your, not, I mean, it's a good thing. I mean, feeding people is wonderful. But to do it out of need as opposed to out of, you know, like it, and it just, it, I don't know, this, I mean, I'm just struck at how the underlying, how racism has defined what your village has to do, right? That the needs of your members are defined, are defined by the fact that we are existing in this racist culture, that, you know, gives Black and brown people fewer resources, you know, the retirement resources, health resources, all of these things, and that organization and people like you who have so much power and so much to give, spend your time on the logistics of getting people fed, you know, which, like I said, not unimportant, but it's like there's so much more that you and that villages can do for people, you know. So I just need to express that.
Well, thank you for expressing it. I think two things. One, as you said, is just it's a age-old issue. We have one grocery store in Ward 8. 80,000 people. We have one Giant in Ward 8, one Safeway in Ward 7.
Yeah.
You know, that's just the reality of it. What I would say to you, Judy, though, we know what we need to do, and we're content with what we need to do. Not that we don't want to do all those other things, which we do. So I don't want it to even appear that it's a burden, because it's not.
Right.
We support where we can. And even the other things, I don't think anything else goes lacking. Again, we don't do as many programs and activities. Like we don't have, you know, a lot of the groups and all of that. But the things that they need, we try to provide that.
Sure.
That's why I was saying before, when you've seen one village, you've seen one, you kind of develop it and expand it and grow it within the confines of what you're able to. So it's really a joy. I think I've heard all the volunteers say that.
Yes.
That it's really a joy to work with them.
It's truly a village.
Yeah. Do you have any final thoughts? Because I think we're running up on 8 o'clock, right?
Right at 8 o'clock. Yes.
We're at 8 o'clock. Just, would you make any final comments on any thoughts that you have about the way that villages can support each other going forward? Because I'm sure a lot of people listening are thinking, well, what can we do? You know, how can we be better partners?
Well, I think that we started that with the EDs, and even tonight, I think this is a great avenue for even awareness. I heard someone say, we didn't even know anything about your village. So just awareness as they come into contact with people who know people, you know, to let them know there is a village, you know, in Ward 8, east of the river, and to be supportive if they hear of, you know, other villages. So I think it starts right here. In this kind of forum with a small group of people who can change, you know, can make a major change. So I really appreciate the opportunity to share this evening. And again, for those who joined us, thank you so very much for your time.
Well, thank you, Kathy, and everybody from Kingdom Care who came to join us this evening. We're really pleased. And I would invite everybody to unmute yourselves and say a goodbye for the evening. Obviously, this is not the end of the conversation. It's just the beginning.
And
Yeah,
thank you,
thank
Kathy.
you.
Thank
Pleasure to
you.
meet
Kathy.
you.
Thank you, Ms.
Yeah,
Pointer,
thanks so
for
much.
Done,
Thank you,
Kathy.
Great to hear
everybody.
about your
the
village.
opportunity to
Thank you
serve.
all. It was wonderful to hear.
Wonderful.
Thank you all. Bye-bye. Have a
Maybe
good
we can
evening.
visit their village
Bye-bye.
sometime when the pandemic is over. We can kind of
Right.
go around and be a
Absolutely.
part of other people's
Please,
villages
please do.
That'd be great.
and share
Okay,
ourselves in that manner. So maybe we can
Yes.
extend ourselves and
Yeah.
I saw someone ask a question in there. How about college volunteers, things of that nature? So maybe we could tap into that resource as well. I did see that question come through. So maybe we could find something like the HBCUs and that are in the area that could come out as well, and see if they'll, depending on their, even with their major, will be able to receive some credits or something like that that would allow them to be more, what would you call it, appealing in a sense. It will get them out to help and volunteer for our community as well. So I did see that question. So I think that'd be a great way to kind of bring people, more volunteers into provide services.
Thank you for that,
Marquita.
That's a
Great idea. Great idea.
Kathy, do you have contact information? Do you have like an email?
Yes, I do. Let me just drop it here.
Put it in the chat.
Yep, I'm going to do that right now.
People don't want to leave. This is such a great conversation. I know. Everybody's kind of hanging on, you know. Marquita, we're actually going to be working with Howard University for to get our social work intern through their social work program.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. It'd be great to kind of find, you know, even UDC or whatever it is that's out there that people are looking to kind of gain hours for their degrees if it's required. So I think that's a great way to kind of tap into resources in our community.
And George Washington has done that. And also, you know, for wellness programs, healthcare, you know, they've got integrative medicine. There are lots of we're a city that's got a lot of stuff.
Yes, we do.
We got to find a way to use it and access it.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
That's true.
All right. Did everybody see Kathy's email in the chat?
Yes.
At kingdomcarevillage.org.
Yeah, I had a question. Do you have to live in Washington, D.C. to volunteer with Kingdom Care Village?
Absolutely not.
No.
Okay.
I'll answer that. Absolutely not.
Okay, good. I was looking for a volunteer opportunity with older adults, and I am with Howard University.
Terrific.
With social work. Yeah.
Connections.
I'm glad I attended this meeting, so I'll be reaching out to you, Ms. Pointer.
Great. Thank you so much.
That's wonderful. Terrific. All right.
While you're here, can I ask you mentioned about volunteers outside DC? It's not a village, but it was a group called Daughters for a Day in PG County.
Heard of that.
I heard about that too. Yeah,
and they're like a daughter for the day. They pick you up, they take you shopping, and maybe they'd like to join in as well.
Okay, I'll look them up.
Fabulous.
There are a lot of, like you've encountered in your neighborhood, there are a lot of organizations that may be doing something similar, but they're not called villages.
Right, correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yep. All right. Well, we should let Kathy is a hardworking,
everybody's
underpaid.
No way.
So I'm gonna end the meeting to let her go, but clearly we'll want to do this again. So thank you all for joining.
And happy Easter and Passover.
Yes, happy Easter to all.
Good night,
God bless. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.